We have ongoing tournament at the moment, Return of the Clans. I know that you played in one of the earlier rounds, didn't you? Um,
Made in the qualifiers.
yeah, and I've taken a bit of an interest in following some of the teams.
Just one.
Just one in particular, I believe that is Deceptive Baguettes.
It is. They're
You,
sort of like the unknown quantity, and people are quite excited by them. And
what in
so
particular is exciting you about them?
they they've got different ways of looking at certain maps. They've got very good heads on them for working out how to play effectively,
Mhm.
and also they just have the most ridiculous aggressive builds that are just stupid but work, and I love it.
So an example of that is it what 18 pop
18
archers?
pop double range archers with pocket going, 18, possibly even 17 pop
Jesus,
scouts.
that's just nuts.
It's nuts.
But like, so I know that's mainly used on Colosseum. Is that something that would be viable on a flank on Arabia?
It is completely viable on Arabia.
Wait, that should be scary.
And I think today we've discovered a way to make it even better
Oh,
using Khmer, who can go up 15 pop and get 5 scouts out. So you could go 15 pop scouts, 18 pop archers.
that's just mental.
And if your opponent's trying to do a standard, 20 pop scout, 21, 22 pop archer flank, they're going to be
You'll
dead
be dead
before they're
before they
even
hit
feud
feudal.
range.
Yeah. Could so one like strategy I've noticed from Deceptive Baguettes is that they try to use Slavs as the pocket civ, so that they've
Yes.
got the population benefit from the military buildings for all
Yep.
their team, right?
Yeah.
Could you do uh like 17 pop scouts with Slavs, and then your flank do like a 16, 17 pop archers with Khmer? Is that
Uh,
feasible, do you reckon?
Khmer can do the 18 pop fine. Whether they could reduce it to 17, I'm not sure. Their wood saving's nice, but
Mm,
it's how much idle time you get at some point. Because the idea is you should have as little idle time on your TC as possible.
yeah,
So you don't want to start putting it where you have to be killing so many vills to keep up with a bad build.
I see.
It's rather pushing the build to the absolute limit without forcing you to be killing them. You can just use it for the map control and then to take the advantage later.
So you think it's not worth pushing it to that limit for the archer player?
Not if, well, there's two factors here.
Mhm.
Not if you'd be introducing a lot of TC idle time for yourself that's unnecessary.
Yeah,
And the second factor is using a civ like Khmer. Because if the game goes longer, they miss thumb ring,
mhm,
so they're going to transfer to a much weaker arch civ
yeah,
than using stuff like they've been using Ethiopians. You can use Mayans. They're much stronger because they're traditional arch civs anyway. They
yeah.
get the full upgrades, so they transfer it better through the entire game.
Do you think the likes of Chinese and Britons can do that as well? Or is
Um,
Ethiopians really like the standout one because of the extra resources on reaching feudal?
I Britain's I've talked to Locke about, who's obviously on that team,
Hmm.
and he says he doesn't like the feudal age economy for them as much. So whilst they
Okay,
can do it, he doesn't think they're as effective.
yeah,
Chinese, I think, needs a bit more looking into
okay,
because it's can you use those extra villagers, but
yeah.
then your start is awkward. So I think it's a bit of a gamble depending on where your deer and boar spawn.
Okay. Yeah, because if you are delayed in taking those food resources, particularly your huntables, then that really impacts Chinese more than others.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So Ethiopians, Mayans being your top two.
I think Ethiopians were the original one
Mm-hmm.
that was done. Stuff like Khmer obviously were very quickly picked up on, but don't transfer longer term. Malians have been used, but again don't transfer. longer term. So yeah, I'd say Mayans are probably up there with Ethiopians.
And would something like Incas, where you get the free llama, is that
Inca,
enough of a boost?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the houses with Incas.
Oh, of course.
That's your boost.
So you're saving 25 wood, or maybe 50 wood.
It's 25 wood per house. Plus, you can sheep scout with 4 sheep, not 3.
Yeah.
So that's more chance of finding your resources quicker. You also spend less idle time building the houses. So it's very viable with Incas as well.
Okay. Interesting, because it's been a while since Incas have been like not just a usable civ, but an actual strong civ in a specific circumstance.
And they're a civ that obviously get fully upgraded arbs, so it's not like you're trading off early game strength for late game weakness. And
because of the house bonus, you're going to have less of an impact to your economy as you go. It's a small eco bonus, but it's still a little bit of something. It's small, but it really adds up. Yeah. It sounds like they could be a decent kind of third civ behind Ethiopians and Mayans then. I think you'd probably have Mongols ahead of them for the strength of their... So again, you trade off the late game for an exceptional early game. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Incas they've always been a good flank. They've just never been exceptional. Yeah. Whereas now I think you might be picking up on another use of them. Yeah. Again, maybe I'm trying to think, if they're paired with Slavs, does it kind of reduce their effectiveness in that scenario? No, it'll still help. Okay. Yeah, like it's interesting for me to kind of delve deep into like this tactical side of things, and hopefully the interesting bit is you're pushing the boundaries to the absolute limits. And this is 22 years into the game, and we still haven't reached them. It's mental. Like I think 20 odd years ago, 23 pop scouts was your benchmark, and we're now talking about they were going up 25 pop. It was all about going up, trying to do the same build as your opponent, but 1 pop later, so you had better eco. Wow. That was their logic, and it makes complete sense. But then what if you go the other way and just go up so much faster? Yeah. I suppose you're like at the level that these players are at, and the level that you'd be at, you're watching that score for when your opponent clicks. Yeah, and you've got an idea of can their civ do it or not. But I guess also with the styles of these builds, if you haven't committed to that, you can't adapt on the fly to try and catch up. No, because you put 2 on wood. Yeah. So there's no way you can adapt to do the same build. Food income to catch up. You'd be able to get up quickly, but then you wouldn't be able to place both your ranges. Yeah. Because they skip the mill. Yes, and skip the mill until after fletching, which is, by all common knowledge of this game, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, that's just crazy. But it means that you've got archers hitting, with man-at-arms timing almost? Yeah, men-at-arms show up at your base and you've got 4 archers. And you're probably building your blacksmith at that point. I mean, is that something that's feasible in 1v1s? Yes. Okay. The only issue with 1v1s is your opponent then just doesn't die for a couple of minutes and gets a few skirms out, and your eco can't deal with it. Yeah, because you couldn't afford to switch to skirms. Whereas, in a team game, you don't want to switch to skirms. Your pocket deals with the skirms, so it's not viable. Have there been any other kind of interesting things to note from Return of the Clans? I think most the sets have gone sort of as you'd expect. Maybe the odd exact scoreline being a bit odd, like AM beating WWP 3-0. But otherwise, where teams have gone through the groups, nothing's unexpected. Yeah. But now you're starting to see some good matchups. Like you've got AM against the Vietnamese, Suomi are taking on the Baguettes. You've got the Amigos, who are known for their Black Forest, against WWP, which could be an interesting one, especially as the Chinese are not such fans of the closed maps. Yeah.
and then GL against Los Machos.
That'd be interesting.
The old
actually.
heresy.
With T90.
Yes.
I've been impressed with T90 actually.
He's a very solid player.
He is. He's
people
really
probably-
showing that lately.
They probably underestimate him because he just casts most of the time. But he did say not too long ago that he does want to improve.
Yeah, he I don't know if you've watched much of his streams, but he's putting some time into playing. Obviously competing in tournaments, so he's competing in Return of the Clans. He's competing in Masters of Socotra, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, I've been impressed with how competitive he's appeared in these other ones.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't let himself down, but it's when you go up against the very best you can tell the difference.
But then GL really struggled against Deceptive Baguettes.
Yeah.
And T90 being someone that spends a lot of time watching the game, he's aware of their builds, and he deliberately organised a show match between Los Machos and Deceptive Baguettes so that Miguel and Dogao and Lan could see how powerful some of those builds were.
And can learn from them as well.
Yeah. So
that's a smart move.
Very. He's got a good brain for the game. Now, he might be a slight step down in mechanical ability from Miguel, let's say. But because of how active he is at watching, engaging, analysing, I think he's got a lot to offer to that team in terms of tactical decisions.
And driving conversations around it.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah, because he definitely would have been pushing all of that team to understand what's happening in those builds and why they got so comfortably beaten. And if they can replicate some of them against GL could struggle.
GL should have lost Colosseum.
Yeah.
But for people who watched it, Tatoh missed where Viper was taking gold because he thought it was... He almost wrote it off as a far too ridiculous position that no one would ever take that gold.
Yeah.
But Viper was taking it.
He had no other choice. I was watching Viper's perspective on that one. His 2 golds were forward.
Yeah, they were awful. And he took... For some reason, he took the worst one.
I think...
So Tatoh thought he was taking a gold at the back because he hadn't scouted it.
Yeah. That makes sense. But yeah. It should be an interesting week of sets in that game, and I don't think Viper is available.
He's not
to play,
which makes the GL Los Machos set a lot closer.
Yeah,
because if people remember, GL's first set against the Argentinian team, who were like 2K1, 2K2, they went 2-0 down, and they looked awful.
Yes, that was the one I was trying to think of.
They had no direction. They were playing badly, they were trying to troll, and it just wasn't working. And it took Tatoh showing up and essentially stamping his foot down and saying, no, that's not good enough. And dragging them back in.
It was Daut on Bedouins, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was...
Didn't have Loom, went down to about 10 vills.
So brutal. But yeah, that will be an interesting one to keep an eye on, and I'll be following it this week. But on to our other ongoing tournament at the moment, Masters of Socotra 2. We are into the final round of qualifying, I believe.
That's just finished. It finished yesterday.
Right, thank you. And I'm going to refer to Liquipedia here because I have been away, so my knowledge of results is way down on what it should be. So we ended up with... I know Capwatch beat T90. Obviously, spoilers are incoming as we're talking about tournaments.
Yeah, that was the last game. It was yesterday.
Okay. Ended up being a 3-0 win for Capwatch. T90
doing... The games were pretty close.
Were they? Okay.
Yeah.
I might go back and watch those ones.
Put up a good showing.
But yeah, T90 beating Margugu was, I think, a little bit of an upset on paper.
Especially as Margugu's got a reputation at the moment for loving making things as messy as possible, vil fighting everywhere. You'd think Socotra would be more up his street.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I pulled a very interested face just then because I just spotted one of the results. I'm gonna open up. Wow.
And I'm not too surprised.
Okay, so just to make sure we can see, okay, we got Jordan beating versus Kongan. The next one up, Dragonstar beating Daut. That is an incredible result for Dragonstar. But you say you're not surprised.
No, he was playing Plebs of Socotra.
He played Plebs of Socotra. He was good form.
He won it.
He won it, beating ACCM in the final.
He's been on good form on the map. He picked Aztecs and Mayans, which are two of the top 3 civs, the other being Goths for Daut.
Mm-hmm. I think Liths are close behind, though, for Daut.
Liths are pretty good.
But only if you use that early food bonus and go for like your instant militia to go and kill deer, basically.
Or you can use it just to get up really quickly.
Okay.
And sort of negate being lamed in a heavy lame game. But he's got the good civs. He's got a very good style on it. He's well practiced on it.
And again, he's putting effort into grinding 1v1s.
Mm-hmm.
He's streaming a lot and seems to be making some good strides there.
And it's also like Daut likes a boomy macro game. Like that is his bread and butter. So, whilst like the set was played at 1 a.m. my time, I didn't watch it.
No.
But if Dragonstar can make it a messy game, one where it's micro intensive, you're looking all over the place, I can see why he would be favoured.
Yeah, definitely.
Just make your opponent as uncomfortable as possible.
Still impressed that he pulled it off.
It's very impressive, yeah.
Belgium beating Rapard should be expected. Classic Pro beating Derp. I think that could have gone either way.
That's a close set, yeah. I think Classic Pro is probably slightly better player overall, but then Derp obviously is a bit of a clown.
Yeah.
So the fact that it was 3-2 is very, very reasonable.
Okay, so done. Jordan, Dragonstar, Belgium, Classic Pro. Right, second side of it. Capwatch we talked about beating T90. Song beating Draken. Again, I think that should be expected. Song again, super good on Messi.
Yeah.
Yo beating freaking Andy. Yo with a really difficult opening set there. Eventually climbing his way through.
Eventually scheduled it. I mean, still regret that. Should definitely have taken the admin win. I mean, you've been the last 16 now.
I would, yeah. I mean, like he had no other competition, so if he was too scared to play me originally, like
precisely
easy road. But honestly, like the experience of playing against a top 3, top 4 player was very cool. I'm happy.
He's quite good.
Yeah, he's not bad. And then Dark beating Miguel. I didn't see that one.
I didn't
see it coming.
Well, Dark's a good player.
He is.
But I think it might just be the case if he's taken Miguel outside of what his comfort zone is, not something he usually plays, not a style he's used to.
Yeah, Miguel picking Chinese is a slight oof there for me.
I've seen them picked quite a bit, but yeah, it's a big risk.
You need to get on that food instantly.
Yeah.
But you also want to go forward and lame, so like if you're not taking that food...
I don't think you do as Chinese.
I don't see how you can.
You want as clean an opening as possible in sort of a low lame game.
Yeah.
But that's just a risk.
Yeah, I can't see how your opponent wouldn't go, great, he's Chinese, I'm going to take stuff.
Yeah.
Because even just going across with a couple of villagers early on and walling in their berries, they've got to respond to it. Because Chinese need that. And so they can protect their elephant to some extent with a scout or try and take it early on. But it's the berries and the ostriches in most cases. Like, go and take out them, and Chinese are in a little bit of a awkward situation early on.
Yeah, and you just force them to invest more, and obviously their food eco is low. They need their natural resources, so taking them away from them as quickly as possible is ideal.
Tell King Boo Longboat's cheating.
No. Longboats is the only legitimate player to play water.
But just finishing off about Master of Socotra 2, so we're into the main event now, which I think should be starting this week.
Yeah.
So just to very, very quickly run through the sets. So we've got Slam versus Yo, Viper versus Dark, Black Tea versus Jordan, Vivi versus Classic Pro, Tatoh versus Belgium, Valessa versus Dragonstar, Vinchester versus Capoch, and ACCM versus Song Song. Ooh, that could be quite interesting, actually.
I think sort of the overriding thing to look out for is traditional underdogs like Song Song, like Dragonstar. How far and Dark even? How far can they push the traditionally top players out of their comfort zone on a map that made people tilt out of it last time?
Yes, we had, what was it, 2 pro players?
2 people
retire?
rage quit.
I mean,
Mid-tournament.
that's the dream.
So, I want to see more.
Yeah, it's my favourite tournament by far. Like, what's not
It's one where I don't care who wins. I want to sit with my popcorn and watch the world burn.
You want to see more games like that final between Viper and Hera.
Yes.
Just absolute slog. And by the end of it, I'm surprised Hera didn't rage quit early on that one. Because that must have been so frustrating.
And Viper's just sat there giggling. Although the interesting one from last time was Viper. I think he beat Song Song
3-2.
3-2?
Yeah, it was.
In a very early round. And got a bit of a shock, and I think potentially changed how he played it.
That's exactly what happened. I remember him saying something like, okay, this needs more laming. Like, he saw the way that Song Song was approaching it, which was just to, like, as you like, utter shithousery. Go take and deny as much as you possibly can. And I think game 1 and 2, Viper got a little bit of a surprise on that. And then he started to reciprocate and then continue it in the tournament. If you didn't watch any of that tournament, go back. It's so worth it. Most of it, I believe, is on John Slow's YouTube channel. Certainly the later stages. So,
Viper also has his point of view as well.
Yeah, all the way through, Viper's point of view is available. So last weekend, so just over a week ago, I think, we had Regicide Rumble 4. You were a participant.
I was.
How was that for you?
It was just utter chaos because you've got... Well, it depends on which day it was.
So carry on. I was going to say, just to give people that didn't see a rundown of what the concept is, if you want to take us through it.
Yeah, so you had the community day and then 2 sort of pro days. So the community day, you had people known to the community either by just T90 or they'd played a lot of his community games, were rigged in, and then there were other people who got entered into it via a random draw. 3 games on the Friday. It was Regicide Diplomacy, so if you lose your king, you die. Diplo's open, you can ally enemy people at will throughout the entire game. The only condition is one person can win. Played on a variety of maps across the weekend, and it was all about backstabbing, cheating, lying, anything you can do to win the game at the expense of your opponents. And then over the weekend, sign-ups were open to anyone, and they just took the top 48 people. So you had people, a couple of pros in every game, a bunch of 2Ks, even down to like the odd person lower.
And there was a few 1500s.
There was a few. There was one 1100 that was a late replacement in my game. But it doesn't matter. The joy of Diplo is that it doesn't matter if you're shit at the game. It doesn't matter how bad you are. You have a chance. You don't have to play don't beat them at Age of Empires. Beat them at Diplomacy.
Yeah. So you were the highest rated player in your game in the end, was that right?
No.
No?
No.
Sorry.
I was third highest by seed,
Right.
behind Winchester and Backed. But then I had
Arg
Arg,
was in yours.
Kamigawa, Klavskus, who were all at least 2k.
Yeah.
They're
So
all very solid players.
Very high level game and the poor 1100.
And then we had a 1500 and 1100.
Yeah.
But the 1100 came second.
Okay, nice. Congratulations to them.
Because diplomacy matters.
Yes.
And it's
carry
different to anything you're going to see on a normal Friday community game that T90 does. Because when there's money on the line, people are ruthless.
on.
And they won't play for the viewers, they'll play to win.
Yeah. So I left for holiday early hours Saturday morning, so I basically missed all of the pro days, but I watched most of the Friday. Hey, Varian. I watched most of the Friday and seeing the kind of more community focused couple of days, couple of games. There were a couple of very, very campy ones. I would expect the higher level players to be less campy.
Yes, they were more active in teaming up and trying to defeat another group that had teamed together.
Yeah.
Thinking that if you ended up in a team of 3 at the end, you were guaranteed top 3. There's your prize money.
Yeah, Varion is asking me to take you to task on your campiness. So I know that you and Strode talked in advance about kind of general strategies, and you've told me that you and Strode did roughly the same thing, but you did it better.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
But I did it better.
The Diplo.
It was very much build towers everywhere, make friends with everyone, get into as few fights as possible, break other alliances apart. Just don't play Age of Empires. Just play Towered Simulator and Diplomacy all game.
Did you pick Turks as well?
He picked Turks. I went Koreans.
Okay.
Because I wanted siege onagers and I wanted the extra range towers, so I would be a pain in the ass to push with bombard cannon. So basically, I wanted to force siege ram or an incredibly slow push.
Yeah, which made sense with you having siege onagers behind it that you could deal with the siege ram. Okay, I see the logic.
And also, you take the advantage of, I was playing Halbesso. My army was incredibly slow, and so it always turned up to a fight late, which was good because I was allied with both players fighting.
Yeah, so you wanted to arrive late as part of the show of,
fight.
I'm coming to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it look like I was doing as much as possible whilst actually doing nothing.
Now, my main takeaway from the Friday, as I said, is that Bombard Towers should be banned. Maybe Towers fully banned.
I disagree.
Yeah?
I think people need to realise what's going on with people building towers.
Oh, I 100% agree on that.
And you have to enemy them.
In the Strode game, I can only talk about that because that's what I saw, but someone made a comment about all of those towers, and no one picked up on it, like the other players. I'm like, you should see that, and that should be alarm bells. You should all be going, let's all just make siege ram and go kill it.
The issue was, most of the people who could kill him had their trade running through his towers.
Yeah.
And that's where he won the game. Anyone who could kill him was too reliant on the trade route that he had control of.
Sounds far too realistic.
It's brilliant gameplay.
Yeah.
And I think what won him the game was that Roach was the other strongest player, and he went aggressively for a snipe.
Yeah.
And so people turned on him, and he never stood a chance after that. He probably played Age of Empires far better.
Yeah.
But the snipe essentially cost him the game.
The game mode is not about playing the game well.
It's not about being good at Age of Empires until you're down to the final 3.
That makes sense. Are there any other good sets from it that are worth a watch?
So Wand of Victory was enabled.
Yes.
So if there was one game that was won by a Wonder, definitely, that was very tactical and pre-planned.
Yeah.
So that's a great game to watch. Pilgrims involving Daut was a good, exciting game.
I always like Pilgrims as a map.
Yeah,
I think it
it's
provides
good for these settings.
Yeah, I think it provides really good Regicide Diplo games.
And it ended with the last 3 players in a very interesting Diplo triangle of who has to backstab who to place where.
Okay, that's quite cool. I'll have a watch of that one. Carry on.
Yeah, I think the games were overall very entertaining.
Are there any aspects of the game like that need to be adjusted for the settings? Or do people just need to be a little bit less naive, I should say?
I think you have to change your playstyle before you can consider what settings need changing.
Yeah.
Because most people lost because they played it wrong before they were outdone by tower spam or someone banking up 100k gold so they could buy wood when it all ran out.
Yeah.
I think playstyle needs to change first before you can judge it too harshly.
Fair enough. But yeah, so I think T90 has talked about planning to do more Regicide Rumbles more frequently.
Yes.
So definitely keep an eye out for them. I'll hope to squeeze my way into one in the future.
They are great fun.
It's just another light-hearted weekend of entertainment, isn't it? You say
light-hearted.
Wow, I'm
but
saying
then he goes
that.
and sticks money on the line.
Yes. So obviously people focus a little bit more, but I mean light-hearted in the way that Masters of Hyper Random is light-hearted.
Yeah, it's more light-hearted. It's definitely light-hearted viewing, something completely different. It's refreshing for the players because they're having to play something completely out of their comfort zone, completely different rules.
We won about 2 pints in London. So you won pints from winning, is it? Were there external bets placed on this?
No. Well, Aston probably owes me 2 pints now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Only 2, though. I'm sensible.
Okay, of course.
Would never dream of having more.
No,
no, he's probably referring to the extreme cost of pints in London.
Oh, I see. That makes way more sense. Yeah, I'm slow. I live rural. Like, we don't necessarily have quite as stupid priced. But anyway.
My Somerset cider that says it's 8% but tastes like it's 47.
Yeah, I've had a few of them. But anyway, the other upcoming events. So, well, I say the only, I believe, Age of Empires 2 top-ish tier event that's
been announced.
That's been announced is Rage Forest. So this is a 4v4 Black Forest tournament where I'm making these statements having not read the announcement, but basing this off of the previous iterations of the tournament. So basically, it is a draft system. So I think is it 16 teams now?
Yes, 16 teams with a pro captain.
So the top 16 players that sign up will be the captains, and they then pick in a draft style, I assume. So snaking from one end to the other.
Yes.
And pick their team based on players that have signed up.
Yep. But the restrictions are you're put into tiers of players.
Yeah.
So they pick a tier 2 player, 2 tier 3 players, and 2 tier 4 players.
Okay.
And the restriction is in any single game, a tier 4 player must be playing.
Okay.
So it gives a bit more involvement across the spectrum of players.
Which I like.
Go that far down.
Yeah.
It's not going to dip far below 2k, I think.
Okay.
Apart from maybe the odd person who plays loads in the Rage Forest server.
So someone really like Banji is under 2k. known
Apparently he's
within.
only under 2k because he doesn't play 1v1s.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There's a couple
But-
of Brits as well, isn't there, that are under 2k but are very regular in Rage Forest.
Nick is one who I think he's just not played a lot of 1v1s and is very good on those settings.
Yeah. Boo has read a lot about Rage Forest. Is he entering?
I've got an exam in the middle of it, so no.
Oh, King Boo. I'm so disappointed. You could have
Same.
you could have earned more money there and had a Liquipedia page written for you.
Wow, Athens should just make me one anyway.
I think Atten should agree to make you a Liquipedia page on exchange for you signing up and playing in Rage Forest.
Okay, I'll do that if he sits and passes my exam.
That seems fair. Seems like a good trade. I'm happy to facilitate this and have no part in either side of it.
And when we win, we take you to the pub.
There's 2 tier 4, Boo. Oh, so you're saying that King Boo would be the tier 4 player, and so he could sign up and not be the one that plays. I like it.
Oh.
If you're saying the tier 4 won't drop much below 2k, presumably you'd be either tier 4 or tier 3.
Probably tier 4 because they won't know me.
Yeah. So in which case, you could sign up and just be unavailable if you're scheduled to play that week.
Interesting.
I think you should do it, Boo.
I'll cheat my way to more money.
Exactly. That's the entire system of becoming a pro player.
That's what I did in Regicide Rumble.
I'll have a watch of your game then, as background
Lie,
entertainment
cheat.
while you're
Backstab.
camping your way to money.
I don't watch my gameplay, just my
Oh,
chat.
okay, fair enough. But yeah, no, I look forward to seeing you sign up for that, and like seeing a lot of the pro Black Forest games of late. I've loved it. I think it's a really fun way to watch it. I'll probably be watching one of the players' streams because I like the voice chat. Although I don't know whether in a tournament settings they'll be a little bit more serious.
Probably unless it's NBL.
I was thinking Daut might be a little bit.
Doubt, yeah.
Mm.
Well,
But-
Doubt last time picked Memb and John Slow for the memes and ended up doing all right, I think.
Yeah, I think they did.
Considering.
Players on them. But yeah, so it's what, $10,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Top 4 teams get money.
Okay. It's decent money still. Particularly
Yeah.
for, like, as you say, because it's capped to one of the like top 16 on a team, then you've got money being spread amongst a larger section of the player base, which I'm a big fan of. I think the more support that can come to players outside of the top 20 or 30, let's say, then the more the pro scene is going to progress.
Yes, it's always good because then you encourage more people to invest their time and you get more people pushing through.
Yeah, because I don't think at the moment there's many people. I'm saying this, but you've got like Mem who has hundreds of viewers, and there are a few people along the way with decent viewerships. But outside of the top 30, let's say, there are not many people that get a decent following or decent viewership on Twitch. Maybe I'm underestimating. Maybe it should be top 50. There's not many outside of.
Well, unless you play a 98-hour game, in which case your viewership
True.
goes
Through the roof.
skyrockets.
Yeah. Like, fair play to the two of them. That one game, I say that one game, it's like a whole weekend of play. But that one game has done themselves the world of good.
Oh, it has.
But yeah, so I think more tournaments should cater to a wider range of players, and I hope to either pitch to someone for me to then do the organisation or admin of, or pitch it myself to Nilly at some point about an FA Cup style tournament.
It's where a tournament like World Rumble That's the successor to European Rumble that's going on at the moment. That is... The previous one was based on anyone below who'd never reached 2K4 and was from Europe. And this one is anyone who wasn't in the top 16 for King of the Desert.
I think that's a sensible way to do the cutoff.
So it's trying to take... it was people who weren't invited to King of the Desert. So it's trying to take the people just below the very top and try and put them up against each other and see who can push through. Which I think's a really good idea.
I do, and that's why I'm interested in a FA Cup style one where I think two things are really important. I think open sign-ups for events because it catches the interest of the player base, but also prize money going down quite a way so that we can expand the number of players that are trying to push towards part-time or full-time play.
Because that bit of money incentivizes practicing, working out the maps far, far more. You're not just playing for a bit of pride and fun. Especially if it's something a bit meaningful. Like, say, if you get £100 from it.
Yeah, and I think with something like an FA Cup style, so those that are not English and don't know what I'm talking about, FA Cup is where you have progressive rounds of the tournament where higher and higher level players are added into the player base for that level. So you might have let's say a first round of 64. So you'll have 32 progress, but you might put in another 32 of a higher level player. So you've still got another 64. Like, I can't quite work out in my head how I do it. But each time you're putting in higher level players to the player base for that round. I like the idea of random seeding each time, but I don't know.
It.
Yeah,
but people will complain.
People will complain. People will complain regardless. Like, no matter what settings you put, people will complain.
But that's the thing. I've given up saying the settings and tried to be good. They're all shit.
Yeah,
all of them. Indiscriminately. They're all terrible.
And I think if you're organising something, you need to just choose settings yourself and not have input from the players. It doesn't work if you're trying to listen to everyone, because someone will go, I'm not playing on that, I'm not playing on that, I'm not playing on that.
You choose your objectives and you choose your settings based on that. Ultimately, people complain, so be it. Deal with it.
Yeah, I think there can be some fun tournaments that could get a bit of interest, and I hope to try and pitch one of those either to a higher level host than myself or to Nilly myself directly. But yeah, that's a watch this space sort of thing for a few months rather than a few weeks. King Boo is a very balanced and reliable voice when it comes to map choices. We should listen to him for feedback on maps. Like, we all make decisions. Some of them are bad. But so I was going to say that, like, with World Rumble, my one disappointment is that it didn't get more support from Microsoft. I don't think it had any, did it?
It's had barely any coverage either.
Which is a shame, because the whole point of it is to attract audience to this kind of second tier of players. And
push some of them through.
And you and I are as guilty of this because we didn't think about it when we were discussing the stuff to talk about today. And
we did discuss it a while ago.
We did when it was first announced. We talked about it, but in terms of things to talk about, because it's ongoing. Squeaker is correcting us, saying World Rumble's been getting some decent coverage.
I swear every time I've looked, it's only been in French or Portuguese.
Nova will cover a lot. Ellie's done some as well. Okay.
But Nova's been doing a lot of Return of the Clans, which has probably pushed them away from it.
Member's covered a few.
At least when I've been looking.
Yeah. What's World Rumble? World Rumble is a tournament that we were just discussing. It's where players that didn't qualify for the main event of King of the Desert, or was it just top 16, or is that the main
It
event?
was the ones who weren't invited.
The ones
So
that weren't
16
invited.
players
Okay.
who were invited were the only ones not allowed to
Okay.
participate.
Thank you. So yeah, it's a way to try and encourage the expansion of the top level player base, which again, all for that. Yeah, Mem, Ellie, Nova, OGN. That's good. Like, I know that Nova streams an awful lot, and will cover events almost religiously. And OGN, I think, is the host, so it makes sense that he's covering that. Ellie has a decent viewership, so it's great to see her going towards that. And obviously, Mem is one of kind of the big three, let's say. Hasn't been doing it reliably though. Only as a sort of nothing else to do kind of thing. Yeah, that's my understanding of it. So obviously, it will bring good attention to it when he does so. Again, I'm as guilty because I haven't cast any of it when I could. Wouldn't necessarily be as well cast as by those other three, but other four, sorry. The final stages will probably get live coverage. I think you're right, Squeaker.
It's just gone to the knockout stages.
Okay.
So they had 4 groups of 6, top 3 qualify. So each second place player will play a third place player. Winners play the group winners in quarterfinals.
Okay, so winning the group skips you straight through
to the quarterfinals. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I've played other tournaments like that, and yeah.
So in terms of players, you've got Bals, Song, Valas, Bad Boy, Classic Pro, Margugu, Fire, Freakin', Andy, Tatoh, Dragonstar, Miguel, and Belgium as your final 12.
Okay, so as we say, a decent level of player there.
Very.
For me, I'd be watching the likes of obviously Belgium, Miguel, and Sito. I think would be my 3.
Yeah. Yep.
Dragonstar again doing so well. We're topping his group containing Fire, Bad Boy, Sebastian, Kasva, and Golden Acid. Like, that's a really good performance.
Yeah.
Winning 5-0, like, he didn't drop a set.
Didn't drop a set and only dropped 2 games across 5 sets.
Like, again, I know that I'm emphasizing this a bit too much, but that's a decent outcome. So he dropped a game against Fire and Sebastian. Okay.
Sebastian.
But yeah, very, very impressed. So he had the same win ratio as Belgium. Better than Miguel and better than Sito.
Yep. So joint best in the group stage. Probably an easier group.
Who else we got? Yeah, maybe a little underwhelming from Daniel and Say My Name in Miguel's group.
Yeah.
Again, decent.
Probably having the hardest group.
Yes, definitely. I haven't got this on screen. My apologies. But Freakin' Andy doing well to progress through to this knockout stage over Bruh and Lan. It better than did well. Yes, Squeaker.
Pretty good. I'm not too sure what the map pool was like, so I don't know how well he could.
African River, Arabia, Fish and Fish, Frozen River, Kelimutu Lakes, Monocle, Mudflow, Pilgrims, and Sand Forest. Very, very mixed bag. I don't think I've ever seen Pilgrims in a 1v1 map pool.
Pilgrims was his map of choice.
Okay. Very interesting. So he beat Lan 2-1. Beat Bruh 2-1. Very, very interesting. I might... I won't be able to check that out. There's not, as we said, there's not many streams of it, sadly. But maybe that'll be something we can keep an eye on for the knockout stage and see if we can see more. Pilgrims in ranked queue when... Put in the team game rank pool. That would actually...
Put in the 1v1.
Anything with water, King Boo's in. Oh, we could put it in Masters of Water.
Exactly.
I think it might have to. Huggy's saying 1v1 and team game. Masters of Nomad Water. Squeaker, so I am happy to invite you to our tournament admin discussion group, and you can help us have input into the map pool for Masters of Water, which will be the next tournament. Have a yes vote. But yeah, so we've kind of added in a little bit there about World Rumble. So keep an eye out for the group stages coming up. Not group stages, sorry, the knockout stages coming up. And also Rage Forest. I believe sign-ups are still open for that. So it'll be a little while before that kicks off, I would guess. Do you know more about the start date for Rage Forest?
Starts in... I'm not sure when the draft is done, but that's quite soon. But
Okay.
It starts at the beginning of April, ends beginning of May. Around then. I'll get you the exact dates.
Draft is
Rage
17th of
Forest.
March, according to Squeaker.
So draft is... Okay.
Couple
So
of weeks
that's
to
next
prep.
weekend.
Okay.
No, next Thursday. Then start date is the 7th of April. Final being by the 1st of May.
Okay. So, yeah, that'll be starting soon, and I think that'll be worth a watch. On to our final topic for the evening. We have just had a best of 21 show match between Daut and Tatoh. It was hosted by Jordan, wasn't it?
Yes.
I don't know if was there a sponsor for that?
They crowdfunded it. So
Okay.
he got $1,000 for it. He took 200 for himself to be like, I'm going to host this.
Yeah.
And then 800 to split between them. Ended up being a bit higher, 885.
885. Okay. And so it was a best of 21 played over 3 days.
3 days of 7 games each.
And it went all the way to the wire, but finishing 11-10 to Daut, is my understanding.
Yes.
So once again, Tatoh failing to capitalize on a decider. I don't know if you've seen that Reddit post.
Have done, where he's lost a lot of decider matches against top players.
Incredible how good his head-to-head is, apart from in deciders.
But then you look at who he's losing to in those games,
Mm-hmm.
and it's consistently the same players.
But his head-to-head in general against them was still pretty decent.
Yeah.
I
Well, he's one of
don't
the
have
ones
the exact numbers in front of me.
just outside the top few.
Yeah, like you've over the last year or so, we've had a fairly well-established top four of, in no particular order, Viper, Hera, Leary, Yo. But then that next kind of group of 10, let's say, are really changeable, in my opinion. And I've picked 10 as a number off the top of my head to just signify the next group of players.
I think the next group, you're probably looking at another 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, probably realistically. MBL, Winchester, Jordan,
Tatoh,
Daut, Valessa.
And then some of it.
Maybe ACCM, but again, the last couple he's been...
He's probably the best of the rest, isn't he?
Yeah. Probably is. Right now the top four is very unclear since everyone has split their time between 2 and 4. Yeah.
Top four's very clear.
Yeah, for me, those four remain the top four.
No, it's Viper, Leary, Yo, and Daut.
Okay.
Hera,
I'd have no arguments with that.
give him a couple of weeks to come back and he'll be straight back in there.
This was a discussion point in the GB Discord recently.
Yeah. I think it's...
Hero undoubtedly is still a top player.
It's more a question of
Form.
how long would it take him to get back to that level?
Yeah.
Rather than can he?
And I
don't think anyone's doubting that.
I think we're all agreeing that he'd do it, and he'd do it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Some people were saying within a day, which I don't think is realistic. I think we can see that the players jumping between half a day, as we agree in the GB Discord. I think half a day is not enough, as we've seen from players jumping between 2 and 4.
If you told him he had a big tournament in 2 weeks, I think he'd do it.
Yeah, I think he'd be
and I
competitive.
think he'd be as competitive as you could expect anyone to be.
Yeah. But seeing him jump from 4 to 2 for Wandering Warriors, he came up against Yo in the quarterfinal and ended up losing a very, very close set. But the point is...
But then he was also dropping games to Draken in the round before.
Yeah. I think Hera on good form beats Yo.
On Nomad settings, I think it's...
Well, yeah, good point, actually.
Yo's slight favourite, but I'd say either of them could easily win.
Yeah, maybe so.
But... Whereas I think the big difference would have been he would have beaten Draken 3-0.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, so... And that was with time to practice, but I guess he was kind of switching backwards and forwards during the week. So I think that is your evidence that a player can be absent for some time, but they're not going to jump straight back into where they were. I think it needs a bit more concerted focus to get there.
Yeah.
For the right incentive, he'd do it super fast. Agreed, Suika. As we said with Wandering Warriors, I think he was still jumping between 2 and 4 through the weeks that he was in that. So I guess he wasn't as focused on it as some others might have been. I don't think it would take him too long to be there. Again, Leary is another example who he's not quite the same now, but particularly, again, even as little as a year ago, Leary wouldn't play much or visibly play much Age of Empires 2. But
he wouldn't play anything outside of tournaments and tournament prep.
Yeah, but he'd jump in straight away and be undoubtedly one of those top 4.
But then there's the thing with Leary's the most naturally talented player we've ever seen.
Yeah. Hera's
been a grinder.
Absolutely.
Which is why I think it would take him a little bit longer. But given his previous level, it's not going to be that long.
No, I think he'll be there and be there for a very long time if he wants to.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's only a matter of now who is kind of breaking into that chasing pack. But yeah, so the Daut versus Tatoh set, very, very close from what I hear.
Yeah, and I watched bits of it here and there. There were some very good games in it. Wild settings, they had Mega Random in it, they had Turbo Forest Nothing,
Nice.
There was a Hyper Random game, whilst mixed in with your more traditional settings.
Yeah. The little I saw of it seemed like that. It's hard to argue that they're very closely matched.
They are.
But yeah, so that is all available through Jordan's Twitch VODs, and yes. I think a lot of it is going to be uploaded to his YouTube.
I think I've seen him upload games individually. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's doing them in order or just ones he fancies putting up.
I think from what I've seen, it's ones he fancies putting up. I think it's Jordan's putting some effort into trying to grow his YouTube channel. So he's being a lot more regular with his uploads. So that's something to keep an eye on. He, again, seems to be trying to focus on that aspect. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, that covers kind of everything that's going on as things stand in Age of Empires 2. I mean, I try to dip into Age 4 from time to time when we do this. The problem is neither you or I are fans of the game. So
yeah,
it's hard for us to be too on top of events there. I mean,
it's also hard to form a realistic opinion of it if I don't watch it properly or
Yeah.
understand the game.
Agreed. Like we can't have informed opinions without being informed, and neither of us are inclined to do so, sadly. But Boo doesn't understand AoE 2 either. I mean, he'll never reach 1300.
And yet I'm still better than Squeaker.
True.
That's all that matters. That is literally my only goal in life.
But for now, I'm going to go to our ending screen. That is us done for the night. Thank you everyone for joining us. Cheers.